College near home. Iowa's community colleges attracting record enrollments, training Iowa's future workforce. A conversation with community college presidents, Des Moines area's Rob Denson and Northeast Iowa's Liang Chee Wee on this edition of Iowa Press.
Funding for Iowa Press was provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation,
the Iowa Gaming Association, consisting of 18 state-licensed casinos who pay over $392 million in local, county, and state taxes every year to help fund a variety of projects, including the renovation of Iowa's Capitol Complex, state and county fairs, and school and university improvements.
Iowa banks know you want honest advice about how to best reach your financial goals, whether it's financing and education, buying a new home, growing a business, or funding retirement. Iowa Banks, Iowa Values. MyIowaBank.com.
The Rotary Clubs of Iowa and Rotary International.
In 1985, Rotary International committed to a goal of ending polio worldwide. Very soon now, after immunizing over 2 billion children, the goal will be achieved. Rotary, humanity in motion.
For decades, Iowa Press has brought you politicians and newsmakers from across Iowa and beyond, celebrating 41 years of broadcast excellence on statewide Iowa public television. This is the Friday, June 1 edition of Iowa Press. Here is Dean Borg.
Iowa's community colleges are increasingly becoming vital segments of the state's higher education system, moving well beyond the inaugural vocational technical concept. They're now providing college credits, for example, for students still in high school and linking with Iowa's 3 state universities and some private colleges to provide seamless tracks for students moving among the various institutions. And community colleges, of course, are also providing older, non-traditional students educational opportunities and new career retraining. But supporters say the state isn't sufficiently funding its 15 community colleges, and perhaps that's why their tuition is among the highest in the nation. We're getting insight from Des Moines Area Community College President Rob Denson and Northeast Iowa President Liang Chee Wee at Calmer. Welcome to Iowa Press, gentlemen.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
And across the table, Radio Iowa News Director Kay Henderson, and from Cedar Rapids, James Lynch, who writes for the Gazette.
Gentlemen, community colleges in Iowa have more students now than the big 3 public universities. Mr. Denson, is the system overloaded? And as Dean alluded to, is state financing for the system keeping up with demand?
Well, last year we served 155,000 credit students throughout the 15 community colleges of Iowa, and enrollment continues to be strong. If you look at where the needs are for jobs in Iowa, we know that somewhere between 50 and 70% of most of the jobs out there that are either existing now or in the future require more than high school, but no more than a 2-year degree. And that is right in the wheelhouse of the community college system. So we continue to provide programs to the companies that we work with so that they have the workers at the time they need them with the skills they need. So we think the system is responding very well to business. I mean, we're probably as well connected to business as any sector of education in the world. I mean, every one of our programs has an advisory committee of the businesses that hire students from those programs. So that connectivity makes us very responsive, entrepreneurial, and it's a great place to work.
Mr. Wee, does the level of state support allow you to be as nimble as Mr. Denson suggests?
Well, I mean, when you look at the budget, we know that it has been a challenge for all institutions, really from the K-12 all the way to the regions. For us, we work very well with the state legislators. We really advocate our needs, and we look at also the results that we're producing. I think for us, definitely the last few years have been challenging in terms of state funding. We can always use more. And some of the programs that we provide, such as the career technical, those are expensive ones. So for us, not only just the state funding, we're also looking at our business partners. So for example, we have the only John Deere program in the state. So we partner very well with them. I think we realize as the 15 community colleges, it's not just one source of funding, but to have multiple sources of funding. We need to have many people at the table.
Give us an example. You said the John Deere program. What's that, farm machinery or what?
It's basically a program that allows our students to work at dealership, to work at John Deere. So every single of the students coming in, each one of them is sponsored by either the dealer or by John Deere. It's a 2-year program, And we have a facility on our Calma campus, and the John Deere Corporation provide equipment, some of the latest technology that they provide to their paying clients and for our students to work on.
I see.
Yes.
President Denson, you mentioned some of the demand that's fueling enrollment, but there's still a lot of students who are going to the community colleges for their general education, their first 2 years. Is that also fueling the enrollment increase, as well as high school students who are taking some college credits while their local school district is footing the bill?
Yes, clearly more and more students and their parents realize that going to the community college for the first 2 years, I mean, small classes, our faculty are passionate about teaching, our results are good, and they save money. So I know we're an expensive system compared to the rest of the community colleges nationally as far as the cost of our tuition, but if you compare us to what they would pay at any public or private institution, it is a great bargain. Of course, we have a lot of high school students. I think last year, almost 38,000 high school students in the state took a course, a college-level course, while they were in high school with their local community college. We have many high school students graduating with a year or more of college credit. All transfers very well to the four-year institutions, public or private. So it is a great way for persons to start, particularly if you're concerned about debt load, and then the quality is, of course, there.
Do you follow up on that and see, do community college graduates fare as well at four-year institutions as those that start at a four-year school?
Very close. We track, Iowa State is DMAC's biggest partner. We track all the students that transfer there, and you can look at their grades. It's very, very close, within a few tenths of what students who started at Iowa State, how their grade point averages are, which is very interesting since many of our students that we're sending to Iowa State couldn't have gotten in there as freshmen. So we're taking students that may need to upgrade their skills, but when they transfer from us to Iowa State, they're extremely competitive, both in terms of grade point and in terms of graduating on time.
President, we just heard President Denson say the partnership with Iowa State and DMAC. And I know that Wartburg, a private college over at Waverly, has just announced a kind of a partnership like that, where students enrolling at the Mason City School, NIAC, can transfer then to Wartburg. I know that that also is among the Regents institutions and some community colleges. But should those be individual agreements, or couldn't it be that whatever community college you enroll in anywhere, you can go to Simpson or Des Moines area or to Des Moines University?
There are two ways of looking at it. Some of the common courses, like math, they transfer anywhere. I think for us, when we have articulation agreement with specific college, is really looking at the programs, because some colleges may have programs that others do not. So for us, when we are able to do that, we're able to customize a little bit to the individual institution. But if you look at many of the courses in general, they transfer from one institution to the next, especially with common numbering. The content itself, with the Department of Education, in the process of verifying that the rigor is there, the content is there. So I think that the individualized is a little bit of customizing with each institution.
Mr. Denson, what does DMAC here in the Des Moines area, do you partner with some private colleges such as Grinnell?
All of them. I mean, we've got degree partnerships with all three regions and every private college that our students might go to, Grinnell being one. All the private colleges in central Iowa. We have students that transfer all over the United States, but we clearly want to partner with those schools that are in Iowa. Buena Vista actually offers courses on some of our campuses statewide, so it's very good partnering.
Do you also partner in recruiting students then? Do you say to Grinnell, we'll go after this segment of students and we'll move them on to you?
Not to specific schools. I mean, with Iowa State, for example, we've got an admission partnership program that if you come to DMAC knowing you want to go to Iowa State, you're automatically admitted to Iowa State. When you start with DMAC, you can live in the Iowa State dorms, participate in all their sporting. You get a counselor from Iowa State, but you're a full-time DMAC student. We've got a similar program with Iowa. We don't have the residential piece there. We've got a similar program with Drake, Grandview, Simpson. So we're interested in making sure that wherever our students may want to go, that they have a seamless process, and particularly they don't show up at the doorstep of some college or university, public or private, and have to retake a class. So it works very well.
I think the public thinks they can show up on your doorstep and enroll in a class immediately, but there are waiting lists for certain courses at your institutions. Mr. Wee, what are some of the waiting lists at your institution?
Definitely nursing is one. And our John Deere program is very strong too. So some of the programs, definitely there are needs. And it's not just people coming in expecting to be enrolled. For us, to get them on a firm footing at the beginning is important. And so we look at their placement, we look at their previous preparation. We have people who come through our doors having been out of school for 30 years. And so for us, it's not so much about getting them into classes, it's creating a game plan that says, how can we help that person be successful before that person even step foot in the classroom? So we deal with really a very wide variety of people coming through our doors.
What is the biggest waiting list at DMACC?
Health, clearly. Statewide, health is the largest program on all the community colleges, and generally there's an 18-month to 2-year wait list to get into nursing, for example. Auto technologies is a wait list. Culinary arts is a wait list. Welding, we're always on the verge of a wait list, and it depends on the time of the year. But we, 2 Sundays ago, we started a welding class that started at 10 p.m. and went to 2 a.m. because that was the only time we had available in our labs. So it ebbs and flows, and we know how impatient people are, young or old. So we know that they're not going to sit on a waiting list for a long time, so we work to slot them in as rapidly as we can, or start them on the pathway taking gen ed classes or whatever it may be.
Why don't you expand so that you can accommodate and get those wait lists taken care of?
Let's talk about money. This is where the funding issue comes in. It's so hard to find bricks and mortar dollars. No earmarks from the federal government will support bricks and mortar. Right now, in our area, the Southridge Mall is going to give us the old Penny's building. So that's 64,000 square feet. We're going to put a career academy in there and a general education center. Now we've got to raise the $14 million that it's going to cost to renovate it. Well, so it's a matter of money.
You're speaking and resonating with Senator Jack Kibbe. And he was on this program about a month ago, and we were questioning State Senator Kibbe of Emmitsburg. He's often called the father, as you know, of Iowa's community college system. And we asked Senator Kibbe about the expanding role of community colleges.
I envision that it's going to continue to grow where it is. Funding, of course, is the big setback there. The community college students are paying over 60% of the cost to operate the community colleges. It was never intended that way. In the original law, it was written that the state general fund would be the primarily funders of these institutions. The schools got 3 sources of income to operate the schools. They got the 20 1/4 cents property tax, they got tuition, and state general aid. And the only flexible dollar they got is tuition. So the big negative to rely on tuition is, in my opinion, they can't offer a lot of expensive technical programs because they don't have the funding. And they can't pay the salaries that's required to get qualified teachers.
Well, President Wee, how are you going to solve that? Or can you?
I think the key thing is to make sure that we understand where the burden is. The burden is definitely on the student. And that's why for us, when earlier on I talk about diversified funding, President Denson and I, just the 2 examples, we go out and we talk to donors. We create scholarship for our students. We also talk to the business partners so that they can provide funding. I think anything that we do nowadays is really tell our stories and bringing more funding. The state is one source. The community college itself, when it comes to property tax, we take a very, very tiny sliver, not a slice, a sliver, compared with other institutions. So for us, we just want to make sure that how can we provide more funding to the students through scholarship, and at the same time advocate to the federal government. Pell Grants, for example, that's huge. During this summer, you find that the Pell Grant is not really available to our students, so some of the students are not in school. We find that they're successful when they continue to be in classes. So funding is not something going to be solved overnight. We work with the legislator. This year, they have been very good to us. In fact, they have been very, very aware of our challenges. The key thing is we cannot continue to go back to the way we have been doing. We need to bring more partners to the table.
President Wee, you mentioned the property tax portion of your funding, but are all community colleges created equal here? I mean, DMACC serves a very different property tax base than Northeast Iowa Community College.
I think for us, because of size, it's not easy to compare. I mean, DMACC is many times bigger than we are. So in terms of property tax, there is a formula that allows them to bring in sources. This year, for example, for just Northeast Iowa, it's 97 cents per 1,000 valuation. Last year was slightly over $1. For us, it's not just of funding, but also to be aware of stewardship of tax dollar. We do not go out and levy as much as we can. We look at how we're doing it. Not only just the funding on one side, but we also are very aware of how we have been doing things. Business as usual is not going to help. So on our campus, we're looking at the processes. How do we use our human resources? How do we use our equipment? How does technology come into play? I think it's not just about money coming in, but for us is how do we appropriate
President
those
Denson,
resources.
it strikes me as to what he said here on fundraising as it being important. We know that's important to the 3 state universities, but they have graduates who are maybe higher income earners than are your graduates. Are you somewhat limited in fundraising?
We are. A student comes to DMACC or a community college for 2 years and then goes to the University of Iowa to finish their 4-year degree, and when they leave, they are Iowa grads. And so they don't forget their roots, but usually the best funding flows to the university. You know, we solve our problem with partnerships. I mean, we work with communities. The community of Perry wanted a career academy. They built a $3.5 million facility on their dime and then just gave it to us so we could run it. We've got 260 students working out there, or in classes there. So we solve our problems based on partnerships. We need more funding. The legislature's been very good. If you talk to the Republicans or the Democrats, they'll both say they're our biggest champions, and they're both right.
Yes.
Because they are very supportive of us, but still, this year's funding is still $6 million less than we received in 2009. And our demands are much greater, because if you talk to any business, we have a skill force issue here, and we are desperately out bringing people into training so they can take very good jobs that are now open.
Mr. Wee, Mr. Denson mentioned that there are 38,000 high schoolers who are taking courses at the community colleges. Is that what they were designed for, these community colleges? And how have you had to retool to address that different kind of student?
No, I don't think when the founding fathers of community colleges started in the 60s, they envisioned that. And I think that is a credit to the community colleges. We improvise, we are flexible, we're nimble. And we look at the K-12 partners, and we look at their needs. We have very bright Iowa students, and they want to be challenged. So I think those classes that we provide to them is a way of saying that they want to learn more, and we provide it. Those are college-level classes with rigor. Last year in our district, we saved Iowa family over $3 million. And those faculty work closely with the community colleges faculty and deans. They basically teach the same curriculum. And so I think we have evolved. And I think that if we have a conversation 40 years from now, it will be the same. And I think that is the pride of community colleges.
But the best thing we've done with the K-12s is to take vocational programming to those schools.
Yes.
I mean, very expensive equipment, hard to find faculty at the K-12 level, something we do very well. So most of the successful academies or concurrent enrollment courses, a lot of them are vocational based, so that we're teaching high school kids and often going into the late middle school vocational skills that the public system no longer can do. When I went through Iowa Valley and Marengo, I took shop from grade 7. You know, now they don't have those opportunities unless they're tied to a community college.
We've been talking about the bottom line for community colleges, but the bottom line for students, as you earlier mentioned, is that community college tuition in Iowa is among the highest in the country. Mr. Wee, how do you address that? How do you get that to be reduced?
Well, that's why I think for us is to look at how we use that money and provide the scholarship, and continue to work with our legislators about this particular issue itself. Right now, for example, the average is about $145 to $150 a credit. It is still very, very affordable. But we understand that the population of students we deal with, those are also real money to them. So for us is to work with the federal dollars, work with the state dollars, work with the donors, and definitely working with business partners. And that's why you find that with some of our programs, when businesses are able to sponsor students, it alleviates the challenges for the family. For us is to really minimize the amount of debt for our student. The success for our student is not just graduation, it's how do we help them transition to a career and continue to work with them for lifelong learning.
You've both talked about the challenges you face as your enrollment has grown and become more diversified. President Obama has said that everybody should go to college. What does that mean for community colleges, especially for those students who may not be what we call college ready, who may need help transitioning from high school into a four-year academic program?
We have been doing that all along. We know that we have students who are coming in who are not as prepared, and that's why our partnership with K-12 is so strong. I meet with our superintendents in our area once a month, and we talk about issues like this. We also provide alternative high school partnership. We understand that not every student is the same, but every student deserves the chance to go to college. Some of them may go to four-year. Some of them, the career technical college is the pathway. So I think for us is to present all the options to the students, but we take individual students, look at their strength, but also look at the gap. And I always said that when we enroll a student, we enroll the family. We enroll their challenges, we enroll their ups and downs. That has helped us to work with our students to help them to be more successful. Definitely remedial preparation is a big chunk of what we do, and we're proud of it.
It's also been suggested that maybe it was a little snobbish to suggest everybody needs to go to college. Do you think everyone needs at least a two-year program in this day and age?
I think what President Denson said was very clear. In the next 5 to 10 years, over 60% of the position, some of them not even created yet, will require post-high school. Maybe not beyond the 2 years. I don't think it's about snobbiness. I think what I would like to see our discussion is looking at what the options are, what the industry, what the needs are, and for the K-12, for us, and for the regions, for the private to work together to do what's best for Iowans. We still have a tremendous opportunity to work with family to help them understand that community colleges is an option.
Mr. Denson.
Well, in addition to the 155,000 credit students we served last year, we served 255,000 non-credit. So it's not all about a degree. Sometimes it's only a certificate. And we're working with companies all the time to say, okay, maybe we can do this in 6 weeks so you can fill that particular job. So we look across the spectrum. And because of our funding and we always need more money, and we could use it very well, but we've been very creative, and I think that's been the fun of being in a community college position. I mean, we can start programs very quickly, we can end them if there's no longer a demand from the business or no longer students that are interested, so we're very fluid and fast moving.
What has been
Go ahead, Kate.
What has been the demographic change at community colleges in the past decade? Or is the demographic of the student body sort of remaining constant?
Well, clearly we're all becoming more diverse, particularly in the Hispanic communities. I mean, we have got more individuals of all different kinds of diverse backgrounds coming to the community college. And
ages?
And ages. Our average age is 26. We just had graduation 2 weeks ago. Our oldest graduate was 70 years old. We do GEDs, we do ESL, we do adult basic education. We go out and try to recapture dropouts and get them back in the system.
ESL, English as a second language.
Correct.
Yes.
And that is big. We're running as much ESL as we can because Perry, for example, 40% Hispanic. I mean, there is a community, and these young people want to work, they've got a great work ethic, and they are extremely bright, and we need to continue to reach out to them, because there are going to be a lot of Perrys around Iowa, and there already are. And if we look at the traditional working population, it's going to become more diverse. They say that the Caucasians will be in the minority by 2050. I think it's probably going to be before that. So we need to be creative, and we're really at the best level to make those connections.
Is part of being creative, President Wee, going with online courses?
Yes, we do. For us, we look at, again, it's an option. Some of the people who want a higher education, for whatever reason, are not able to come to us. So we are actually bringing education to them. And some people may say, well, how does that work? We make sure that our teachers are trained. We make sure that the students are oriented. It's not for everybody. When the Aspen Institute came to visit Northeast Iowa Community College because of our top 10 ranking, one of the things they wanted to find out was how were we able to retain the students? How were we able to continue the rigor? So online education is an option. And I think for us, the quality is always non-negotiable.
Mr. Denson, on this program, the former president of Iowa State University and the current president of Iowa State University said athletic programs are crucial, the success of those programs, to fundraising. You have some athletic programs at DMAC. How crucial are those programs to fundraising and retention of students?
Not very. I mean, I think it may be different at other colleges, but at least at Des Moines Area Community College, all of our athletics are on the Boone campus. It's very, very successful. They're very strong programs. We send 2 or 3 teams to the national championships every year. Our softball program this year has done, first year, extremely successful. But we really haven't turned that into dollars. If you look at the media, you hear a lot about university sports and private college sports. You don't hear much about community college sports. And we've got a great community college sporting system in the state of Iowa. Very efficient. Coaches aren't paid very much compared to anything else you hear. But we really haven't capitalized on that very aggressively. Now, other community colleges may have had different experiences.
President Denson, there's been suggestions that you'd like another title, perhaps Governor Denson. Would you like to use this program as an opportunity to make an announcement here?
Well, absolutely not. And for the record, I am not running.
This year.
It would be, I mean, obviously, I would hope any Iowan would be extremely proud to move up into leadership of this state. I'm extremely proud to be an Iowan. I've got a whole speech where I talk about what it's like to be an Iowan, and at the end I say, is being an Iowan better than sliced bread? And then I remind them that Otto Roweeder from Iowa developed the bread slicer. So no, I'm not launching any political campaign. I'm in the job I want. I'll be 65 years old in November. So I think that's probably where
I have to interrupt. We're out of time. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Next week on Iowa Press, we're talking with Christy Vilsack about her campaign to represent Iowa's 4th Congressional District. You'll see the 4th District's Democratic candidate at the usual Iowa Press time, 7:30 Friday night. Second chance to see Christy Vilsack next Sunday at noon. I'm Dean Borg. Thanks for joining us today.
Funding for Iowa Press was provided by Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation,
The Iowa Gaming Association, consisting of 18 state-licensed casinos who pay over $392 million in local, county, and state taxes every year to help fund a variety of projects, including the renovation of Iowa's Capitol Complex, state and county fairs, and school and university improvements.
Support comes from the Iowa Bankers Association. Iowa banks work with you to offer products and advice for financing an education, buying a new home, growing a business, or funding retirement. Iowa Banks, Iowa Values. MyIowaBank.com.
The Rotary Clubs of Iowa and Rotary International.
In 1985, Rotary International committed to a goal of ending polio worldwide. Very soon now, after immunizing over 2 billion children, the goal will be achieved. Rotary, humanity in motion.